are, we might be speeding up just a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. I see a world that's equal and right. I see a world that's peaceful and the future so bright. I am just utopia dreaming, I'm dreaming inside. Okay. Hello. Oh, hang on. We've got to bring Erin in again. Stage, there she goes. And we'll get rid of this one. Okay, there we go. All right. Hi, guys. Yeah, so that's our little intro song that we've been using at the moment. We have a new intro coming up, and I've got people sort of contributing bits and pieces, but I don't have everybody yet, so we're going to use that in the next live stream. So okay, so far we had Claire was going to host or guest host this one, but she's had family issues popped up, so that's where she's at. So I hope everything's okay there for Claire. But so far we just got the three of us. We may end up with more. We'll see what happens. But for anybody in the chat or whatever, sit back, relax, and we'll just have a talk. We've got a few interesting things to have a talk about. But just introducing the lovely two people that we have so far. Well, I'll start with Ghana because she's part of the whole fabric of the whole thing and is pretty much always there. Artiste extraordinaire.
I try my best.
Cartoonist. You do try your best. You do a damn good job of it. And also we have Erin Lewis, author and former stripper, joining us today for the first time. So that's very cool. And so how are you guys doing to begin with?
Good. How are you?
Everyone's good. Doing well.
Pretty good.
Awesome. So yeah, so the topic that I wanted to have a chat about, because we're going to try and do like a main topic every stream, but then also maybe drift into a couple of other little topics. But the one I wanted to talk about was secular spirituality, because I've found, and some people have been saying to me of late, why do we have to pick on religion and always put it down? What about those people that need it? There are some people that it's saved. It's actually helped, you know? And I don't know what percentage of people that would be, but I do agree with that point. So I thought, because the utopians, we want to look at the positive side of things ultimately. I really kind of wanted to focus on how we can have a spirituality without having religion, for those of us who have trouble believing in all of that stuff. Because for me, and I think you're the same, Aaron, I just can't believe. I think I was a natural born skeptic. So, you know, I just started out that I can't believe, but I also feel as I'm quite spiritual, but obviously not in a religious way. So do you guys know people like that? I know we've had conversations, and I know you do, Ghana, but also, Aaron, I was reading your book, Expose Yourself, again, because I've been going through it to get some ideas like what we spoke about. And there was just a little bit in there, and you're speaking about your mother. You said she knew that the Bible stories were fiction, but she still wanted to believe in God. She never told me I would go to hell or not get to heaven. She said I was a good person, and that was all that mattered. Her indoctrination into religion was strong, but not strong enough to override her sense of love and empathy. So the key point, I guess, being there, she said she knew that the Bible stories were fiction, but she still wanted to believe in God.
She did.
Can you?
And
Yeah.
one of the when we had a deeper conversation, and when I had actually started writing my first book, and when I wrote an article for Free Thought Today, Freedom from Religion Foundation's newsletter. So basically, at that point, I was out as an unbeliever or a atheist, and so we had more in-depth conversations about what she believed and why she believed, and it all kind of boiled down to she really wanted to see her parents again. So she had a
Yeah.
really lovely childhood, even though it was very strict Catholic. She loved her parents very much, and that's what she said was really her motivation for believing in God and heaven and that kind of stuff. But then the other part of it too was she really enjoyed going to church, and she liked the people
Yeah.
there, and the
Mm.
gossiping ladies, and getting to dress up and do her whole little thing, and she just really enjoyed that sense of community um, and activity. But she really, at least when we had a really like earnest conversation, she really admitted to the fact that she had kind of discounted pretty much everything in the Bible. It's just stories and ways to get your point across. And I noticed, at least the way I grew up, is that all like the really nefarious stuff in the Bible was pretty much kind of like glossed over. Like I didn't even find out. I learned more about the Bible as an atheist than I ever did as a Catholic.
Mm. Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. So you have read the Bible? Because as you just said, um, like atheists tend to know more about like the Bible or religion in general than what like believers do, in the way that like we kind of explore it. Not to say that me personally, because I haven't read the Bible, but we do tend to sort of, well, I guess you become inherently kind of a skeptic if you start to question religion, and then you want to understand more about it so that you can question it. So, yeah, yeah, like what you just said, do you think we do kind of know more about it and explore it a little bit more than a religious person who may just take it at face value and say, no, this is it?
For me, like the Bible never held a lot of weight at all. I never really found it very relevant at all, and like at all. Um, and I'm still not very interested in it. Like for me, it's a book of stories, that people interpret the way that they want,
Hmm.
depending on how they want to interpret it. They chop it up and whatever. And I don't even know how you would go about like finding like the original text of the Bible. It's been edited and
Hmm.
changed and added to and taken away from. And like, so to me, the Bible is really kind of, it's just a moot point. Um, it never held any weight for me. So like my skepticism, I guess maybe it could have started with the Bible, just because some of the stories don't make sense. Like, if you really take a step back and look at like Noah's Ark, like if that really happened, then God is like the biggest dick on the like ever. So like,
Exactly.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
so that would impart some skepticism just there, because there's a huge problem with like the morality of drowning everybody, and not to mention all the animals. It was the
Yeah.
animals that really got me. Like, why you got to kill all the
Hmm.
animals? Like, that's pretty. There's no.
Yeah.
So it already struck me as irrational. It already struck me as
Yeah.
stories, and it wasn't anything I needed to ever pick apart. But as I started to kind of join and be more active in the secular community, is when I started to learn about like the donkey penis verse, and like some of the other stuff, the dashing babies' heads against rocks and stuff like that. So as an atheist, I really only heard it even secondhand. So basically, all of my
Yeah.
knowledge of the Bible comes from either the Catholics, who were trying to pick and choose the really sweet stuff. Jesus loves you and everything's great and God's, there for
Hmm.
you, just
Yeah. The
not
whole
for,
cherry
the
picking
kids
thing.
dying of
Yeah.
cancer. Um, and then from the atheist side, you do show or you do whatever, you see a meme or you see, all the stuff, and then you realize all just the horrid stuff that's in it. So the Bible to me is pretty much irrelevant. But I also think it's a separate issue from the idea of God or a higher power or even spirituality.
Yeah.
I just, I think it's part of a religion, like Dianetics. I just don't think it's any more relevant to like humanism or, anything outside of people that are actually like believing in it.
Yeah. So deism or deism as opposed to theism. So I guess you were just referring before to a belief in some higher power, but not really knowing what that is. I guess that's a point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that
That you
tends
were
to be
making.
like, I think that was pretty much my default position from like maybe 12, 13 on, where it was like, well, obviously this whole
Yeah.
chunk of, the Bible and church and stuff is bullshit. Um,
Hmm.
but I think part of what really like I always clung on to was the idea of like a higher power. Or there's somebody out there, and then at some
Yeah.
point, the farther
Hmm.
you travel down the skeptic path, I think that's when you realize, well, that's really self-absorbed to think that I have this big
Yeah.
deity
Hmm.
or the universe is somehow
Yeah.
helping me in particular, because fuck everybody else. So,
Hmm.
at least
And I
that's how
guess
I got to my
ultimately
position.
your position. I guess us as non-believers, if you're open-minded enough, you always retain that little bit of an open-mindedness to say, well, maybe, maybe. I mean, I think it's highly unlikely, but who's to say that there couldn't be some higher power?
Right.
But the idea of a God complicates things for a start, because who created God? I mean, if you're a scientific and a skeptical minded person, you're always questioning those kinds of things because it
I
gets more
think, and
complicated.
this is going to be disputed. Um, but to be honest, I don't care, because ultimately
Yeah.
it's semantics. But I really like the term agnostic atheist because of exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
Is because it
Mm.
leaves room to not really like claim that massive arrogance of knowing exactly everything. I have no idea. There could be a God waiting for me when I die. There could be, a reincarnation. There could be, I mean, obviously probably not,
Mm.
but you know what I'm saying? Like there could totally be all sorts of shit that we just don't know about. And so I think
Absolutely. Yeah.
whether it's a theist position or an atheist position, um, I think it's always important to leave that room that we don't know, that we don't, there could be stuff out there that we haven't figured out yet. And is that a
Yeah.
God? I mean, yeah, I highly doubt it. But could it be some other sort of like energy or the way that, or things we don't know? Dude,
Mm.
I think it's ridiculous to assume no matter what your position is on the idea of a God that 100%. So that's why I like the term
That's right. Yeah.
agnostic
Yeah.
atheist. But like I said, I've seen,
Yeah.
I don't know how many Twitter arguments I've seen about it. And like I said, I really don't care,
Mm.
because ultimately all I'm trying to say is that I do not believe in God. Um, but I leave it open to new evidence and the
Yeah.
fact that,
Yeah.
I can't know what I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I mean, the God of the Bible is, I mean, it just immediately just calls everything into question. I mean, it's so human to me. If there's a creature or a being that creates a universe, why do they care about all of these human issues? You're creating stars, you're creating galaxies, potentially multiple universes. We don't know. You're God. You're creating all that, yet you care about the issues that are spoken about in the Bible. You're racist. You don't like homosexuality. You don't like people wearing certain clothes together. I mean, it's quite clearly irrational and written by people from a period around that time when they were ignorant, and that's all that was important to them, with those kinds of things. Um, yeah, so immediately I'm the same as you, atheist as far as definitely as the Bible goes, because it just doesn't add up. But open on the other side, because you would be equally arrogant to say nothing else, no God can definitely not exist, as what you are to say God definitely exists. I guess it's almost equally arrogant to say that on either side. So I think you have to, keep that open mind. But it's unlikely. I mean, by the way, we just had Madam Who there. I'm not sure if she was trying to get in, if she's having internet problems or what. I don't know. Anyway, she popped in. Hopefully she did say she was busy, but she might be able to pop in, so we could see her back again.
She definitely popped in and then popped out.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, she was busy. She said she'd try and jump in, so that's all good. I mean, even the silly theory that we've kind of heard about, which is more of a thought experiment, I suppose, is we're all in a computer program. Have you heard that one? Like, we're not real, we're just all programmed, and the whole thing is there could be some super being, a god
It's all a simulation.
alien. A simulation, exactly, yeah. I mean, it seems ridiculous and probably equally as unlikely as the God of the Bible. But you can't, if you're going to give God a chance, why not give that a chance? I mean, possibly, you know.
I think the big question with that is, how would we know?
Yeah, exactly.
How would we know if that was the case? Although I would say, I find it more plausible than the idea of a God.
Yeah.
Slightly.
Okay, there you go. All right, we do have Madam Who seems to have been able to pop in.
Hey.
You made it.
Hi, Aaron. I've never met you in person.
Hi, nice to meet you, sort of.
Yeah.
Aaron, Madam Who, yeah. And actually, that's good timing, because Madam Who is a humanist artist, musician, singer, songwriter. And I was going to talk about, because a lot of the thing with the church is about community. I've heard that comment mentioned, that to a lot of people, it's just they want to be around that community, to have that connection with people. And I guess that like-minded thing that they all believe in. Mm-hmm. To me, the closest thing that comes to that with being a non-believer is humanism, which to me still gives you that community and that whole thing. And you've spoken about it in your book as well, Aaron. I was reading about that the other night again. So you mentioned humanism. What are your thoughts on that? I guess even just as a social thing, in a way that we can connect as non-believers.
Well, humanism, as at least the way that I understand it, is basically just a structured worldview based on empathy for, other people and beings. As far as the community thing, and finding community as a secular humanist, I think, it definitely helps to seek out other secular humanists. But people inherently are looking for community, be it, flat earthers or Christians or humanists. We're always going to look to
musicians,
other people.
Right.
So it always feels good to connect with other people. And I think that's, I think religion, and there's a ton of different things that, video games, for fuck's sake, there's a lot of different ways to connect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, being a humanist, you don't have to narrow it down to just being secular humanist. Like, humanist just means you care about people, right? So you can be a Christian humanist, a humanist Christian, or a humanist anything, as long as you, follow those beliefs, as far as, that humans can affect their own change.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's us to do it. If there's going to be change and whatever that happens on the planet, it's not going to be a God that does it. It's going to be us that do it. So you're saying you can be a Christian humanist or whatever,
Mhm.
but I guess the whole ideology, would you call it an ideology? I don't know. Came from
Sure.
non-believing and not thinking that anybody could, or
Mm.
any super being could direct us, that it's us. So I think it essentially comes from an atheist position. But I have heard of that, Christian humanism.
Well, it's called secular humanism for a reason, right? Because
Yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of
because they
divides
you
it.
have the
It's a
yeah,
genre.
yeah, yep, yep, and there are plenty of those. Um, yeah, so purpose, right? We kind of need a purpose in life, don't we? And I think that's what religious people think that God gives them. They want to be here, to be a good person, to achieve whatever it is they achieve, just to get to heaven, and to worship God for eternity. I mean, to me, that doesn't seem like a purpose. Is that not having had a religious background? I don't really know, because I wasn't brought up to be told this is what you're trying to achieve. But is that the basic idea? Is that you just want to basically get to heaven, and then once you get there, what are you doing? Are you just worshiping
Well,
God for
according to
eternity?
which denomination you wanna,
Yeah,
take their rules. Yeah, Baptist, Southern Baptist, that's what you were gonna do. Just worship God all day long.
yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Aaron? Which did you grow up in?
Catholic,
Ah,
but like squishy Catholic.
okay.
So, it was church every once in a while.
Mm,
Um, Christmas was Jesus' birthday, but also the day of Santa Claus and presents and,
yeah,
old aunties and stuff. And,
right.
Easter was about bunnies and eggs, but we went to church, and then
Mhm.
there was a dead guy on the stick who came back and, that kind of stuff. But it was like, um, yeah, I guess I didn't really, when I was like Catholic, if I was even Catholic, I never really thought about my purpose. I was a
Mm,
kid. I was thinking about Barbie dolls and My Little Ponies. I wasn't really into,
right.
you know,
Well,
um,
according to Baptist, your purpose on life was to win as many souls for Jesus as you could.
yeah.
Yeah.
See, I didn't grow up with that kind of a thing. It was because the threat of heaven and hell, was not really a thing for me. It was like, just don't be a total asshole and like kill people and you're going to go to heaven.
Yeah.
In fact, I did a podcast earlier this week, with it's called Stacey's Mom's Podcast, and they had come out of like a fundamentalist religion and stuff,
Mhm.
and until I met people in that realm that had come out of that kind of stuff, I didn't really understand that the fear of hell was like actually instilled in children. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't imagine
Yep.
looking at my kid and being like, you're gonna burn
Mhm.
for all of eternity if
Yeah.
whatever. So
So
I never had that, and it was
mhm.
really kind of a shock to my system to find out that like Christianity even taught that in any respect. Um, so
Yeah,
for
so they
me, that was
said
like,
as soon as you hit the age of accountability, which was different for everybody, is when you understood what was gonna go on, then you had to do the sinner's prayer. And so I would ask my parents, like, "What about" I had 3 younger siblings. I was like, "What about them?" "Oh, they haven't hit the age of accountability yet, don't worry." I'm like, "So if they die, they'll just automatically go to heaven?" "Yes." "Okay, okay."
see, I remember thinking some of that, especially when it came to like people that didn't or believed in like different religions, right?
Mhm.
Because at some point you realize I grew up in Orange County, so I was in a pretty like conservative, bubble there. Yeah, I literally lived like 2 miles from Disneyland.
Oh.
Um, and so like my whole world was like white people and the mall and like
Mhm.
Wiener Schnitzel and In and Out. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like I don't like
Mhm.
roller skates.
Right.
So when I started to realize that there were other people in the world,
Mhm.
um, that was when I started to wonder about that. Like, okay, so what
Mhm.
about the people that believe in other religions and whatever? And the answers to my question, I mean, just as a testament to how fortunate I was in this respect, is, you know, God loves everybody. And yeah, as long as they believe in God or whatever, they're fine. You know, as long as they're
Mhm.
not assholes, just don't be a dick, you know?
Mhm.
So they're just, I just didn't have a lot of that. And frankly, I'm still appalled that people teach their children this. I
Yeah.
find it really disgusting and very damaging.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is a form of abuse, isn't it? But obviously they're not aware of it, like being
Right.
indoctrinated with religion. And
Mhm. They
look,
think
my
they're
whole
doing
thing
the right
was not to go
thing.
religion bashing today, but yeah, so
Yeah.
they can't help it. They don't know any different. To them, they think
Yeah, they think
they're
they're
doing
saving you
because they
from
think they
right.
don't want their kid to go to hell. They literally think their child's going to go to hell, so they just
Yeah.
don't want that to happen. If you
Right.
totally believe
Exactly.
that your child could potentially go there, the first
Mhm.
thing you're going to do is to try and not make that happen.
But
Right.
see, there's the flip side of
So,
that too, is that if you're in heaven and people like, you know, and love didn't believe or didn't do or didn't follow that strict path, they're in hell. So then the question is,
yeah.
like, how happy are you going to be in heaven if you know
Yeah.
somebody you love is like burning
Mm,
in hell? You know, and if that's the case, then
yeah.
where, you know, if
Mm,
it's with the ethics and the morality get really fucking fudgy
mm.
there.
Mhm.
No, I
So
know.
that
Yeah,
exact
look.
scenario is what got one of my friends out of it when she just thought that about that. She was like, "Huh," and then she asked her father, and he didn't have a good answer.
I think,
Yeah.
I think a lot of the because I work with Freedom from Religion Foundation, and then
Mhm.
Mm,
you know, I got to speak for recovering from religion. It's really where I learned about a lot of this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And then just, you know, a lot of all that stuff in that realm. Um, when you read or listen to people that were really religious, particularly religious leaders like Dan Barker,
Mhm.
I think actually Seth Andrews came out of it the same way. Definitely Daryl Ray, Dave Warnock, those kind of people. When you read their stories and how they took the steps out of religion as leaders, what brings
Mhm.
them out like consistently is humanism, is empathy, and actual compassion and caring for other people.
mm,
Um, and I think that seems to be like the common denominator, whatever religion it is that when you have a thought system or an ideology that begins to hurt the people that you care about, I think that a lot of times leads people out of it. And whether they get all the way to atheist or not, I don't think it matters. But I think it really that really mitigates some of the damage
Mhm.
that happens from religion. It's just people's own sense of morality, ethics, and empathy
mm.
and compassion for like
Yeah.
other human beings, you know, unless they're like
Mhm.
psychopaths.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Yep.
it's inherent, isn't it, really? Because we all grow up just immediately caring, even when you don't understand anything about God or religion. You immediately feel something for your family. I mean, you probably first and foremost your mother, like as a child, your mother's the most important thing, and that's who you care about. Without having to be told that God said, you know, that's what you should do, you already feel that. And of course, as you grow up and you meet people, you have friends and other family, and brothers and sisters come along, you feel equally the same towards them. So it's not a, I mean, it's a natural process, isn't it? Just to feel like that. So I don't know why it is that religion feels that it has an ownership over that moral thing, because to me, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do to you, is just a
Mhm.
natural human thing that just comes from us, you know. um yeah, so but and the thing about going to heaven, I mean, even no, I don't want to keep bashing this, because me and Ganna had a chat about this the other day. It was about like we seem to sort of focus on the negative. You're always kind of arguing points to do with religion and that. In a way, it's kind of easy to do because it's so clearly flawed, the whole religious ideal, that you can't help but go there. So look, it is going to be part of what we do, but I also want to be positive. But another question is just on a basic level, just complete and utter boredom of eternal life. The concept for me doesn't work. Like, it leads to insanity.
Have you ever seen The Good Place, the TV show? No, and nobody? Oh, they deal with that. It was only 4 episodes, but they got to the end, and everybody was that was in heaven was super bored, and they were like ancient Greek philosophers, and they just completely, their mind turned to mush because they're just having fun all day long, and they had to fix it. So
yeah, I'm just typing that in my phone because I've got a list of things I want to watch on Netflix and whatever.
it was a good one.
The Good Place. Yeah, absolutely. And we spoke before about, you know, if eternal life after death was just praising the Lord, like, that's depressing enough. But even if you get to do everything that you love doing, that is going to get boring as well. You get to explore all the planets. You get to go to other galaxies. You get to float over the clouds. You get to dive under the ocean to the bottom of the ocean and look at all the weird creatures there. You get to do everything that you want to do. Even that, if you're doing it forever, is going to get really boring, isn't it?
Well,
Maybe so it's not a practical concept.
Maybe your mind changes when you go up there, you know, and it erases every day, and so every day is a new day. Yeah.
Yeah, we are mere humans.
The question: how much of you is there then?
Right.
Like, if you don't have your memories, then what's the point of being? What's the point of consciousness after death at that point?
Right.
Yeah.
I think the whole thing kind of unravels if you just.
It does. If you really sit down and think about it.
So,
it doesn't take that long for it to completely fall apart, does it?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a silly concept, and I think you might have just alluded to it, Madam Who. Is that if your memory was erased, so say you lived your best 1,000 years, and if you did have the physical body, let's say our experience in heaven is the same as on earth, and we do have our body, and we have the same senses, and we are basically humans, but spiritual humans or something. You could live your best 1,000 years, but it'd be like a Groundhog Day type of concept. You live your best, let's call it 1,000 years. Even that's pushing it. I think you're going to be kind of bored after that. But let's say 1,000 years. And then, but at the end of it, because if you go on for eternity, you're going to be fucking insane.
Right.
Depressed.
Right.
But if you go for 1,000 years and really enjoy yourself, but then it's all erased and you go back from scratch and live your best 1,000 years again for eternity, repeat on repeat on repeat. That's, to me, the only way that you could actually, I don't know, like enjoy that experience, because there's no other concept of eternal life that I can think of, unless there is erasing memory, that can be good.
Right. What was that show with Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler? It was a movie, like 20
Fever Pitch.
What?
Fever Pitch.
Maybe
right?
Maybe that
50
was
50 First Dates.
Yes.
Oh,
50 First Dates.
I was thinking because they had the baseball.
Oh, right. I thought that was Jimmy Fallon in there. No, it wasn't. I don't know. Yeah, but anyway, she was in an accident and she doesn't remember it.
Yeah.
So every day is a new day for her. Same day over and over. And
it's Groundhog Day.
But in reverse. She doesn't remember.
She has to
anything.
relearn everything.
Yeah, she has
every day.
Right. Yeah.
And like she has to be told all that stuff again. Yeah.
It
was Adam
right.
Sandler.
Okay. I see.
Is in that.
It was Adam Sandler.
So in that, you guys are kind of breaking up a bit. I'm not sure if you're talking, so I'm trying not to talk over you, but you're kind of just breaking up. So I was going to say, in a way, and talking from a spiritual point of view, because people hate the idea of death. It causes so much fear in people.
Mm-hmm.
But in a way, the perfect calmness and peace. And look, I went down a more of a new age spiritual path. So I was into a guy called Eckhart Tolle and read his books, The Power of Now, and some following books. And there was actually a lot of good stuff in there. But to me, his concept of meditation, no thought, no anything, it kind of, the idea of meditation to me is existing without thought. So essentially being dead alive. So to me, the perfect form that you can have is death, because all of that automatically happens. There is no thought. There is no anything. So it's the calmest, and in some sort of abstract, weird way, the safest place that you can be, because nothing can go wrong. To me, like, death is already,
like a
that is
fabulous
kind
argument
of
for suicide.
heaven.
I'm not sure we want to pull this through.
I know it. What was that?
I said it sounds like a fabulous argument for suicide.
I know. I'm thinking that too. I know. It does. And I definitely not trying to get that point across. No, you should definitely live the life and enjoy the moments that we have in your family, because that's what makes it special, just to have lived that. And when your time comes to die, it's just going to happen. But I mean, because life is so kind of, it's full of ups and downs and fears, and you worry every day about people that you love getting hurt, getting killed, and whatever. So along with all the joy and the fun, there is also all of that side of it that scares you and makes you sad and whatever. That's all a part of life. So you've got to go through that process. I'm definitely not advocating anything like that. And when I have these thoughts, I understand that that's how it could come across. But it's definitely not that. But if you want an eternal existence that is a place without insanity and that makes the most sense, death kind of just makes the most sense, where you're having no experience. It's just done. We've all been dead. We've all experienced it before we arrived. We all know what it's like, you know? So I don't know. It's a philosophical point, I guess.
I mean, do we really know what it was like? Because we didn't know. We didn't have a brain to learn,
exactly.
know, or
we don't remember it. So
yeah.
No, my point is that we've been there. So what we're likely heading to, and I could be wrong, because we might be in a computer program, but what we're heading to is the same as where we already came from.
Nothing.
Isn't that right?
Right?
Yeah, nothing. Yeah. And to me, that's absolute peace. And talking about the inspiring suicide thing, which is definitely not. Please, it's
I was
definitely
just
not.
messing with you, by the way.
I know it's an observation.
Okay.
I get it.
We got it, Art. We got it.
Yeah, but on that side of things, also religion does that, because I've heard stories of kids and that talking about they've lost loved ones and they just want to die. And I think there has actually been a couple of suicides because people wanted
You want to see him again.
to see that loved one. They lost a beloved father,
Yep.
mother, whoever it was. And they wanted to see them again, and immediately, and committed suicide, thinking that was the way to get there, you know. And it just isn't. Live this life and just let it be what it is and try and make the best of it, because ultimately all those people that are so important in your life that you care about, in some abstract way, whether it's a heaven or it isn't, you will be together with them in some void, some place, and you will have had that experience together throughout your life, and we'll all end up in the same place, which is probably nothingness, a void. I get some sense of peace in that thought. I don't know if that sounds a bit weird. I'm just trying to find ways of finding real peace without having a God or something there, or a heaven. Because for people like me, and probably you guys as well, I can't believe in God. I just can't, because I'm inherently skeptical, and I've questioned this shit since I was at least in my sort of mid to late teens, and definitely in my 20s when I started to go on a bit of a spiritual search. I can't. If it's not true, it doesn't work for me. It needs to be in my face. If God's real, I want him right there. I want this gigantic bearded spiritual beast standing right in front of me,
Well, who
floating
says
up
there's a
with
beard?
millions of other people looking and seeing it and witnessing it. Where I'll say, yes, God is true. I'll get down and praise the Lord if that happens. But until that happens, I'm not going there. I can't. Don't lie to me. It's got to
Yeah.
be
I don't
real.
think I'd be praising him.
Yeah. Right.
Well, true. But if he was there, you'd probably be scared the same as I would, because
Oh,
I'd
for
be scared.
sure.
Oh, he's going to
I
send
mean,
me to
I
hell.
like
Crazy.
to think that I would be like talking shit, but you're right. I would probably be scared.
Yeah. Can you
Terrified.
imagine that? Yeah, we'd all
But I
like to
think
be
that-
brave and say, "Hey, God, listen, mate, your ideas suck. Like, just, but you're not. She's going to be up there like this super being. You're just going to go, oh, Lord. You're just going to fall to your knees and just praise him, like, straight away. Please don't
I
send me
hate
to
that
hell.
idea.
You
I would way
terrible
rather
wife."
be nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So to me, death is the most logical.
I think when I gave
the
up
most
the
logical.
idea, when I gave up the idea of an afterlife, and when I really kind of accepted that, like, our mind, our consciousness is all like within here, and that's it. I stopped focusing on death so much.
Yeah.
I started focusing really on like what I want to do before that happens. And from like a grieving standpoint, I lost my mother 10 years ago, last year. And I was already an atheist after she passed. And I wasn't quite sure how to deal with that grief without the idea of heaven, particularly because everybody around me had that idea of heaven. And for me, I had to find a place of acceptance without the idea or the thought that I was ever going to see her again. And the way that I found peace in that, or at least as much as I can, I still grieve. Shit, I was crying the other day. But I remember, like, actually, my sister gave me these earrings. When my sister and I talk about her, when her birthday comes around or Mother's Day comes around, and we make mom jokes. My mom, after she got divorced, really kind of developed a bit of an off-color sense of humor. So she had these like goofy mom jokes all the time. And so, we'll say those. Or my mother was a musician. So she actually has like 9 CDs. We have her piano. There's a lot of different aspects of her that are still here. And so for me, the grieving process came from holding on to her memories, and keeping that memory alive, like in here while I have it, while it's still here. So for me, I can't talk to her anymore, but I still feel like there's some part of her here because she's in my memory. She's in my sister's memory. She's, my kid remembers, my husband remembers. And so we, we're able to kind of bring her back for a little bit. But I really had to let go of the idea of death. And I really had to just basically stop focusing on it. Like, it's going to happen one day. There's nothing I can do about it. The only thing I can do is the here and the now. And I can help the people around me enjoy their lives. I can spend time appreciating my own. That's like where mindfulness came in for me, where, and actually some of the elements of Buddhism, where you're either worrying about what happened in the past or you're worrying about what's going to happen in the future. And mindfulness for me brings me in the present, and the present is all we have ultimately. The past is just memories. The future, who knows? I could walk out the door and get hit by a bus. Right. I actually live in a cul-de-sac, so probably not. But you know, there's the idea of death itself was just something I had to kind of like not focus on. It had to just stop being a thing for me, because there's nothing we can do about it. And I don't know. And if it turns out there's a God and I lose my balls and I'm not able to talk shit to him for all the fucking bullshit he's pulled, or he's not able to answer any questions, then you know what? I'm going to deal with it then. But as it is right now, the most important moment is like here and now,
is right now.
You know, enjoying the time that I know that I have, which is now.
So you were really fixated on death before?
So I was definitely afraid of death. I was a ghost hunter with my friend for a long time. So we would go to like cemeteries. Especially from a young age, I did. So even though I was never threatened with hell, I definitely thought about heaven. And especially when things were hard as a kid, I mean, relatively speaking, is like, I wish I could have those hard times.
Yeah.
You know, you think about, oh, well, when all this is over, we go to paradise, and that's great. And so letting go of that concept for me was harder than letting go of God or whatever. So I guess in a way I was fixated on death. And I know that my pursuit of ghosts and wanting to find evidence of ghosts and wanting to see was not really so much about the ghost. I mean, it was fun getting drunk with my friend and going to like haunted hotels and scaring ourselves.
So what did you think about ghosts though? Were they people that, you're Catholic, so are they in purgatory?
I had pretty much let go of Catholicism at that point. So my thought was either they're spirits, conscious spirits that we can interact with, or that maybe they were like recordings, right? So like some kind of an imprint. So if, you know, because like ghost stories usually tell of somebody who died tragically, and then their ghost will walk the same path or do whatever the fuck they do.
Right.
But for me, it was looking for evidence of the afterlife. It wasn't so much about the ghosts themselves, which was fun and creepy, and the stories and all that stuff. But for me, the underlying tone of wanting to find evidence of ghosts was that this, what's in here goes on outside when we're dead. And so I guess it was, I never thought about it as a fixation on death, but I can't disagree with you at all there. I think it was. I think I was just really afraid of dying. And now I'm more afraid of like not living before I die.
Yeah.
Which is a more reasonable sort of position to take. Yeah, I guess we all go through that obsession with death and really starting to think it through. But I have to say, honestly, it doesn't scare me, and I don't dwell on it. I think a lot of people do, so it's worth bringing up. I wonder about the idea of, is religion only here? Does it only exist because of death? Because if everybody had eternal life, would they even need religion?
I think it only exists because
what is the other reason for that? Yeah. And also possibly not understanding the universe. So in the early times where we didn't have science that explained things, we thought it was gods that were creating thunder and lightning and floods and all this, and felt that it was to do with us personally, that we'd done something wrong for them to want to come in and flood our home or whatever. So maybe those two things.
It took us a long time, I think, to figure out that we weren't the center of everything. Apparently humans are inherently narcissistic.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody here, I just finished the book Sapiens.
Right. I've read that. I have read it. Yeah.
And
quite a
so
while
it actually
ago.
explains how religion comes about. And I think that it was those two things, the death thing and helping to cope. And then also explanations for things that we don't know. But I think as it evolved, it became more of a control tactic and a manipulation tactic. Easier to send a whole bunch of young dudes into war to go die if they're going to go to heaven and not just like be nothing.
Right. It evolved into an ideology, which is one of the ways that you can, one of the 4 things that you can use to manipulate people to do what you want. I just learned that today. Don't know what the other ones
absolutely.
were. I remember that one.
Yeah, religion's definitely been used to do that, to control people, but then that's the human side of it, that. Doesn't
Well,
mean that
it's all, but
there
that's the
isn't a
thing.
God,
It's
and then
all
all of a
inherently
sudden,
human.
Mhm.
yeah, exactly. It is. It is so
You know,
much.
I've heard scientists say that when as we were evolving as species, there's evidence that at a particular point, we started burying the dead. You know, instead of just like leaving them where they died. You know, and they think that's the point where we started having an imagination. So I think
Yeah.
perhaps that could be a point where, you know, religion started because
Mm,
Stories.
yeah.
We
So
bonded
it's
and connected a lot
yeah.
over fiction,
oh yeah.
and then we realized that we could really control people if we made them think it was real.
Yeah, yeah.
In a nutshell.
Because there
Yep.
always is those narcissistic and controlling people out there that do want to just take over and control everybody, and they'll use whatever means they have to do it. And yeah, religion's a pretty good one because you can scare people with that. Because we are kind of an artistic little group of people that are all doing different things, and what you were talking about memory and how that keeps your people alive. Okay. And I thought that was the perfect time to bring in this little thing. I haven't done a proper video clip for it yet, but it's a lyric video. So I'll play it through. It goes for a couple of minutes, but it is very much on that subject. It's called a secular song of mourning, and it is about that being alive in our memory. And if you listen out for the whispers in this, the voices says whispers. That was Claire that did that, who couldn't be here today because she had family things happening. She was going to guest host, but she had other things that came up. But she did the whispers. Anyway, this is all about bringing the community in to be involved in different ideas. Anyway, this is this little song. I think you'll get it after what we just spoke about. If it happens. Oh, here we go, I think.
love
I
it.
like
Thanks,
that
guys.
song.
Yeah. So, sorry.
I like that.
Great. Thanks, Scanner. Yeah. But I guess that to me kind of, yeah, is exactly what you just spoke about before, Aaron, with that it's kind of how people are immortal, and I guess they're not immortal because it's not forever. But if we have any extent of immortality, it's keeping people alive in your memory. And I'm a redhead just like you, Aaron, by the way, because that's me in
No,
that
I noticed it was
photograph
quite
quite a
impressive,
long time ago.
actually. Hair's a little more curlier than mine, though.
You broke up all over the place then, so you guys are all dropping out, and I didn't hear any of that.
Ah.
I said your hair was pretty impressive.
Oh, the hair? Yeah, not so much now, but it's what happens. That is life. Anyway, yeah, it just seemed relevant, and I do want to bring little things like that in because it is about being kind of positive and putting out, I don't know, good vibes. I can't believe it's 11:57 here, and that hour has gone so quickly because I wanted to talk about things like science. And to me, if you want to be spiritual, to me, science is really, really spiritual because of ideas like it makes you realize that you're not special. You're not. We are to ourselves and to those around us. We care about each other, but in the big scheme of the universe, you're not special. You weren't made special. You weren't made in a God's eyes. So for that reason, you don't have any reason to feel that you're better than any other existing creature or other human race, anything, whatever you want to talk about, any other people. We are the same, exactly the same. And to me, like science says that, and with ideas like, the size of the universe and how randomness and how all of this just happened. I mean, it makes more sense that it's random than someone created it, like what we just spoke about before, because then who created God, And it just gets more complicated. Shall I keep going? Evolution?
What about it?
I mean, well, just that
I believe
thing
it.
that to me, yeah, no, but to me, the idea that if you have a decent grasp without having to know everything about science, I'm not an intellectual or a scientist, but just to understand that if we all evolved and came from ultimately what was in a little cell, or became multi-celled, whatever, from the very early days, whether it was slime, whether it was whatever, and we all evolved from that, then it doesn't make you any more special than anyone or anything else, because we all came from the same thing and went in different directions throughout evolution. It makes you humble, and it makes you realize you're not special. We're the same. Don't run around and start, claiming to be better than the next person or the next creature or more important, because you're just not. You just randomly became a human. And it's the same with the mass expansion, of where we got down to the point where humans could potentially have only been down. I'm just going by Christopher Hitchens' comment. Could potentially have been as low as 1,000 people on the planet in Africa. And then we all moved out from there. Why are we so... I mean, you want to talk about race and different countries and how this is our country, that's your country. How's about we all kind of came from this place and then randomly expanded around the planet? So how far back do you want to take it,
Right. Well, we're the Homo sapiens. There were other
I mean?
branches of humanoids. Supposedly they were even like hobbit-like humanoids.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right word.
Well, Neanderthals are the ones that we know about, but I think there was other essentially human-like species out there. Yep. And we just happened to be the ones that survived.
Right.
we still have some
Yeah. Yep.
Neanderthal DNA.
Yeah, I
floating
was just
around,
going to
too.
say that. Yeah.
So you
What is
gotta
it
read
like?
*Sapiens*. I need you to read it.
What is it?
Actually, yeah,
Sapiens,
*Sapiens*.
yeah. Sapiens, yeah.
Yeah,
Sapiens.
Yeah.
I thought it was
*Sapiens*,
So
like
as
Homo
in Homo
sapiens.
sapiens, just
Sapiens.
the word
PH.
sapiens. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sapiens. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
very good. The other
definitely
one
worth
is
reading 'cause
Guns, Germs, and Steel.
Well, I saw that
Have you
movie.
heard of that one, Aaron? Guns, Germs, and Steel. Yeah. So it's
I
it's
haven't.
kind of
That's good. That
similar,
one's
but
good.
it speaks. Yeah, it's a really, really good one as well. And you know, books like these, to me, they are spirituality, like, because it just explains everything, and it just makes you humble. To me, science makes you humble. You know,
Mm-hmm.
unless you're a lunatic and out of that you want to build an atomic bomb, but then that's not science that does it. That's a human who's a lunatic. So, but the whole concept, scientific concepts, just say this is what it is most likely the way that things are and why we're here. And if you follow that, as opposed to religion, and I understand some people need religion, and fair enough, but maybe consider other things. And to me, science is a really, really spiritual. You think about the universe and I don't know, the absolute wonder and beauty out there. It's you know, nature and everything. It just, yeah, it gives you a strong sense of spirituality and a connection with the universe. Am I
You know,
babbling?
according to Oprah, we're not supposed to experience beauty and wonder and awe as atheists.
Oh, as
You know,
atheists.
all the
Oh.
wonderful things Oprah has brought us. Thanks.
Oh, bruh.
You're breaking
More
up
to you.
lots, Aaron. Yeah, I
Yeah, and I think I
hope you guys can all hear what
gotta
each
say
other
goodbye.
saying over there. You're breaking up. Yeah, no worries. Well, look, we have actually done the hour, so yeah, look, it's great. Thanks for turning up, guys. We'll have more interesting conversations in the future. I want to kind of do this regularly. We're looking at every 2 weeks, but the next ones are going to be in 3 weeks' time because I've got a gig the week before, so we're going to be organizing that. I had much more things to get to, but it doesn't matter because it'll be saved for other conversations. So yeah, thanks guys for turning up and having a chat. And well, actually, I will end the stream with this little thing that I was going to play. This is Jerome. It's just a short little, or Blake Blathiest. I'm doxing people now.
I thought he
Saying
was going to
someone's
be
name is
here.
doxing. I don't know. Yeah, he was. So I don't know what happened. Blake Blathiest is in Japan at the moment. I don't know, but he said he would be here. Anyhow, I'll play this. It's in one of our songs. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Ghana, for being awesome, as you always are. And, well, we'll talk backstage for a second before you all go anyway. And I will play this little finish. All right? Bye, peoples.
Yeah, use your eyes, know yourself, realize, understand and empathize. We could learn to feel the world with love.